supposed to be a source of stability and comfort in your life. However, a relationship with a Gemini man is anything but that. A Gemini man has a very dual nature that's difficult to pin down, and it can often seem like he has 2 or sometimes even 100 different personalities in one body. That's because he does. Dating a Gemini man, you'll never truly feel alone because you're truly in a relationship with so many different people at once. In today's video, I'm diving into the Gemini man and what you can expect from him in love and relationships. Gemini is an air sign ruled by Mercury, so they really thrive on social interaction and intellectual stimulation. I even have a couple of Gemini friends who are shy and more reserved than what your typical Gemini might be. But even when they're more shy and reserved, they really love a good mental connection and the ability to converse and dive deep into topics and the ability to really talk to you about different things for hours. I would say that one of my best friends is a Gemini, and he is more of a quiet Gemini, but his ability to communicate and to maintain a conversation with you is far more superior than anyone else I know, even though he is more reserved than most Geminis. I hear a lot of interpretations saying that Gemini men can be the life of the party, and they're just impressing everyone with their wits and their charm and their ability to really get into your mind with their words. And although a certain percentage of Gemini men can be like that, that's usually not the case. An interesting fact to point out here is that Gemini is a dual sign, represented by many different faces and personalities. This means that Gemini energy doesn't always manifest or embody itself as this fun, outgoing, creative type of energy, but it could even manifest itself as a more darker, introverted type of energy. So I think there's a bit of a misconception when it comes to Gemini and how it's always this bright, loving sign. The most important thing about the Gemini zodiac sign is understanding that this person has a deep driving need to truly understand and experience different and multiple perspectives. So this means that they cannot really stick to one truth, and when another piece of information presents itself that possibly throws their current truth they believe in out the water, this is the new thing they'll pursue. A Gemini deeply knows that information is always evolving, always changing, and there's no such thing as an absolute truth. What's interesting is that Gemini's opposite sign is Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the ultimate seeker of the highest truth. They want to find the one ultimate truth that they can connect with and that gives them a purpose. Whereas Gemini does not seek that ultimate one truth like what Sagittarius would, but they believe that they can grow their minds better and learn more through pursuing multiple truths at once. So the thing is, to make a relationship work with a Gemini man, flexibility is really the key here. You cannot clip his wings or expect him to be a constant presence in your life. Out of all the relationships I've had in my life, I would say that my relationship with a Gemini man was incredibly exciting, but it wasn't very secure. So Gemini men have a very strong passion, or they might have 2 strong passions, or 10, or 20, or 100. The thing is, they split up their attention and their energy between all their little passions and loves. So essentially with a Gemini man, this might sound a bit offensive and it could even be a bit hurtful, but you are in a sense just one of those passions and loves. If he has to devote all his time to you or a much bigger portion of his time to you than what he does to his other passions and loves, he'll actually grow quite resentful and quite hateful. So when you're with a Gemini man, you really have to be okay with not having a almost like codependent relationship dynamic where you guys are always together, always doing things together, always making decisions together, but kind of accept that a lot of your time will be spent apart with him pursuing things he's interested in. An important thing to also mention about being in a relationship with a Gemini man is that one side of him can be incredibly loving and nurturing, but another side of him can be incredibly distant and aloof. Maybe another side of him is rude and mean and sarcastic. sarcastic. Maybe another side of him shuts down entirely, but then another side of him is able to create a connection at particular moments. It's really confusing, to be honest, because you never really know which side of him you're dealing with. But one difficult truth you really have to face is that you're going to have to learn to love all the different faces and sides he gives you, because you never know who he's going to be tomorrow morning. And I can guarantee you that it's never the same person. So if you're a type of woman who actually prefers or enjoys or needs a bit more variety and spice in your life, then the Gemini man is definitely a great person to consider. Because he has this multifaceted personality, it's literally like dating 100 different men at once. If you're the type of girl who really needs lots of stability and comfort and assurance in your relationship, this is going to be very difficult for you. And that's a truth that you're going to have to accept. To be with a Gemini man, you need to be able to embrace unpredictability. You need to be able to embrace constant change and lack of consistency. But in all honesty, for a lot of people out there, that's perfectly okay, and they can actually deal with these things. It really just depends on your needs and your personality. So this might be a super crazy thing to say, and I think a lot of my viewers might get a bit offended or possibly hate me for saying this, but I'm all about really digging into the truth and revealing the truth, even though it might be a little bit unpleasant and hard to deal with. One thing I've noticed throughout my life when observing zodiac signs and their behaviors and relationships is that Gemini is a sign that has the highest likelihood to lean towards bisexuality or homosexuality. So apart from flightiness and unpredictability, many Gemini men might actually be bisexual, but not admitted to themselves or admitted to the people in their lives. I'm not saying all of them are, but the percentage of Gemini men that are compared to the rest of the zodiac is much higher. Very often, Gemini men or women in particular can go through a lot of inner turmoil and difficulties within themselves in their relationships because they haven't accepted this part of themselves. So they can actually commit to a partner who they're not actually fully committed to because they're not even sure if that partner's gender is really what they're looking for. However, this is only in certain cases, and I'm not saying this is what's happening with your Gemini man, but I have noticed dynamics like that be more common in relationships with Gemini men. The thing about Gemini is, in order for this sign or this person to truly understand their core essence in themselves, they have to experience, like I said, multiple perspectives, multiple dualities. Sometimes it can be taken to the extreme where they need to experience both a relationship with the female and the male in order to truly understand themselves. And I don't think that they should necessarily be judged for this, but this is one sign in particular that's only able to really connect with their truth when they have certain experiences that many of us do not need to have. Being a changeable sign, Gemini is constantly changing and evolving. The same can be said for their different personalities. Their different personalities themselves are also changing and evolving. So it can be very difficult to keep up with where a Gemini man's really at. Even if he has many other placements in earth signs or his chart is a lot more stable, if he has his sun in Gemini, there's 100% a guarantee that he will go through many changes and transformations throughout his life. The fun thing about being with a Gemini is that you're not just getting one partner, you're getting many. If you're just the right person, being with a Gemini man can truly free you and bring you an incredible amount of growth and wisdom in your life. The experiences that a Gemini man can expose you can really elevate you and make you aware of and see things that you would have never seen before or known before unless you've known him. The same can be said for Gemini women, but we're talking about Gemini men now. Gemini men often mask their true feelings, and they use verbal fencing and dual actions to also conceal their intentions. This tendency to confuse people on purpose can be quite frustrating, but paradoxically, a Gemini man can also be incredibly direct sometimes. This duality is a very important aspect of his character that you need to learn to embrace. The key to a successful relationship with a Gemini man lies in maintaining a balance between closeness and independence. They really value their personal space and have an inner core that remains exclusively theirs. So to thrive in a romance with a Gemini man, you need to really keep things light and exciting, avoiding excessive emotional intensity, drama, or neediness. The fastest and quickest way to get to a Gemini man's heart is actually to get to his mind. A Gemini man wants a partner who can match his wits and challenge him mentally. So if you really want to be with him and keep him, don't be afraid to showcase your intelligence. A Gemini man is more likely to be attracted to a bright mind than a pretty face. He's also looking for a companion and not a passive admirer. So being able to really meet him on his level of thinking is very important. Adaptability is also super important when involved with a Gemini man. His interests and social circles will shift frequently, and what he's interested in will reflect his ever-evolving personality. This doesn't stem from being a flighty type of person, but really more from a genuine desire for growth and new experiences that old situations and people might not bring him anymore. A partner who can keep pace with his changing interests will fare very well with him. Gemini men like to do things in doubles, triples, quadruples, or however much it is. They can have multiple partners, multiple careers, multiple hobbies, or even multiple homes and living spaces, or even cars. They really love to double up and experience life more from just one point of view or from one stance or experience. So even if a Gemini is more introverted and quiet, deep down there's a very strong need for friendship and the ability to socialize and share ideas. I wouldn't say that they have a fear of loneliness, but they have a fear of having no one to talk to and share ideas with. But this doesn't mean that they're looking for a clingy partner. What a Gemini man really wants is someone who can provide him companionship without him having to provide consistent emotional support and attention. It's important to know that when a Gemini man is young, it's very difficult to keep him hooked. He may go through multiple relationships before he settles down. It's not necessarily a red flag, but rather a part of his journey towards finding a partner who truly understands and complements his complex nature. Interestingly, Gemini men aren't very driven by accumulating wealth in life, but they excel more at absorbing information, refining it, and sharing it in innovative ways with others. Their true calling lies in communication and using their versatile intellect to generate original ideas and serve others. Most of the Gemini men I know are involved with some kind of form of expression, whether it be making music or creating art. But being able to communicate some kind of core idea or emotion or whatever it is to many people is really what Gemini men are all about. So they would like to make a song, that really informs others, that really shows people a different perspective or a different feeling. They might want to create art that changes the perspective of people. Their true calling is communicating different things, ideas, thoughts, perspectives, feelings to the masses, to others in all kinds of different ways, whatever it may be. So many people I've heard say that Geminis are incredibly two-faced and they cannot be trusted and they always cheat in relationships. So let's get to the bottom of this. A Gemini man is incredibly charming and he's super good at attracting attention from other people merely through his mental presence and his mental capability. It's not even about what he looks like or whether he's attractive. It's the fact that he has the ability to truly connect with your mind that makes him super attractive. But the thing about being in a relationship with a Gemini man is that when you feel you can't trust him and you doubt him and you're suspicious, you likely have to be. Because a Gemini man who doesn't feel trusted in a relationship might just act on what you think of him. I've usually noticed that Gemini men can be incredibly faithful, but that's only if dynamics in the relationship are strong and there's a lot of trust. Often Gemini men can be accused a lot by their partner of all sorts of things, and this constant accusation is what really disconnects them from their partner. And then they look for a connection elsewhere. It's also important to understand that a Gemini has a very strong need for social connection, and if you're not providing that to him, he's going to look for that elsewhere. It doesn't mean that he's necessarily cheating. A Gemini man thrives in communication and he enjoys engaging with a variety of people, regardless of their gender. And attempting to restrict this fundamental aspect of his personality is going to backfire on you. A secure partner who understands and accepts his need for social diversity is more likely to nurture a faithful Gemini man. That said, it is true that some Geminis can struggle with promiscuity, but this often stems from feeling misunderstood or mentally isolated. A partner who provides intellectual stimulation and who truly understands them will reduce any inclination towards such behavior. But often when a Gemini man feels there isn't much of a mental connection with anyone in his life, he can look for a connection in many different ways, whether it be physical, emotional, or whatever. And often this is what leads to promiscuity. When a Gemini man feels truly understood and accepted, his need for external validation or experimentation will diminish. But this doesn't mean that he won't continue to be friendly and engaging with others, because it's really an integral part of who he is. The most important thing to take away from this video is that a Gemini man's heart is won through his mind, through intellectual compatibility, open communication, and mutual respect for each other's independence. When it comes to the subject of jealousy, it's usually not a major concern when it comes to Gemini men. Their love is often more cerebral than physical. The quickest way to actually make a Gemini man jealous is to have a stronger mental connection with someone else. The biggest threat to a Gemini man is if someone else has hooked your mind and he can't do that anymore. And the last things to say here is that it's important to remember that any harsh criticism or constant emotional drama will quickly dull a Gemini's affections. His love, like Mercury itself, is elusive and easily scattered when handled roughly. A Gemini man doesn't need two romantic partners simultaneously, but rather he needs two types of love. Perhaps the intellectual and the emotional, or the friendly and the passionate. Perhaps a true passion and creative calling, and a person that he can call home. Understanding this duality within him is really the key to forming a deep, lasting bond with a Gemini man. So this is my video on the Gemini man. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Are you a Gemini man and can you relate to anything I said? Are you in a relationship with a Gemini man and have anything to say? Please let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already, and see the links in the description to this video to see my website, my socials, and what I have been up to. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.